Hi everyone, welcome back to Knitting Noodles, and in today's video, I'm going to do something a little different. I am going to show you a really fun, I guess, hobby or little money hack for the yarn artists, because there's crochet. It can work for crochet as well. It's how to salvage yarn. Basically, we're going to go from this to this. And you're gonna end up with a lot of yarn. And now I got this from Savers. It's reversed so you can't really see it. It says $5. The best thing to do is when you're going through to just look through everything, find either a yarn that you like or the texture that you like. I prefer natural fibers. I just think that they feel nicer and they wear better. They also last longer, in my opinion. So that's what I look for when I am looking through these sweaters. For example, this one feels lovely and soft. It is 40% rayon, which is usually derived from bamboo. It is 21% wool, 17% cotton, 15% nylon, which is a little bit of the stretch, which I was fine for this because it also has 7% rabbit hair. And for $5, anything that has rabbit hair, I am absolutely getting, because if you haven't felt rabbit hair, any yarn that has rabbit hair in it is luxurious. If alpaca is luxury, then rabbit is like king, queen level luxury. It's next level. So let's get into how you take this apart, and I'll show you what you do after you have taken it apart. Okay, this, my space isn't that big, so I can't show the entire picture. But the first thing you want to do is take your sweater, and you want to turn it inside out. Now, this could also work for other knit goods. It doesn't have to be a sweater. It's just the easiest to find when you're in a thrift store. I also have a very big blanket that I found that's 100% cotton, so I'll be taking that apart. The blanket was like $5, and I easily have over $40 worth of yarn from that once I take it apart. Alright, the first thing that we want to do is to take apart the seams. Now, the seams here you can see are done in yarn, not in thread, which you'll often see for the commercial sweaters. So this is going to be a little bit more tedious because you don't want to pull or get rid of the wrong yarn. So if you cut this, it might make things a little complicated and messy for you. So I just have to play with it until I find an end somewhere that I can unravel. Now, I like to do this by either taking a yarn needle or a seam ripper and just playing around with it. Like right here, I just found the end. And I just have to tease it till I get it where I want it. Now, a little hack that I have found is that if you instead start not at the bottom of the sweater, but at the top, so at the sleeve, once you unravel it, it's sewn in a way so that when you pull it, of course now it's not going to do it for me, the entire thing comes apart. Let's see where my thread went. Just like that. You pull it, and it just sort of undoes itself. This is natural fiber, so it's a lot more delicate. That's why it keeps tearing on me. And we just continue taking it apart. Okay, I have both the side seams taken apart. So as you can see, this used to be the sleeve, this was connected, and now all down the side, this now lays flat for the neck hole. Both sides are undone. So now what we have to do is take the rest of the sleeve off. So we have those two seams to take apart. Now what I forgot to mention earlier is that it is very important when picking your piece to make sure that the stitches are big enough, because a lot of commercially made sweaters and clothes, it's knit, but in even smaller than, like, this is a weight 1 yarn, which is about the same. This is going to be a weight 1 or a sock yarn, which is very small, but it still can be knit with. Oftentimes you'll see even smaller than that, and if it's smaller than this, it's a no-go. You really can't take it apart. It's basically thread at that point, and it's impossible to knit with or do anything with, honestly, and often isn't strong enough to take apart. So make sure that the yarn size on the individual stitches is big enough that when you take it apart, it's usable yarn. Now I did have to take out my seam ripper at one point just to take the tags off. I am going to save this one because it says the fiber content on it, so I don't forget. I'm going to leave this to the side and not throw it out. All right, then let's get these sleeves off. All right, I took almost the whole thing apart. The collar is being a little wonky, so I'm just going to leave it for now, and I'll probably deal with it as I'm taking it apart. For now, the sleeves are perfect, so I'm going to start by taking these apart. Now this was very delicate work. The yarn was very fragile, as you saw from when I was taking the seams out. It was a lot stronger in the actual sweater, but still there was a few times where it got caught and I had to be very gentle in teasing it apart, otherwise the yarn would have broken. Luckily I was able to end up with one ball and not multiple, and yeah, it actually turned out pretty well, and I'm very happy with this yarn. Alright, so I finished one sleeve and I got a ball about this big, which honestly, minimum if you get from like a craft store would be $5. If you get it wholesale, maybe $4, because of the fiber content. But just look at how big that is. Now you might think use it right away, but no, there's a few more steps. So let me show you what you do next after you unravel your sweater. The next step for making the yarn usable is you have to wind it into a skein. Now a skein comes usually like this. It's twisted up, but if you untwist it, unloop it, it looks like this. So you can either get this by, you probably want half of it, so probably like this, not as long as this. If you want it long, it doesn't really matter. You can either take a decent sized book, this is Van Gogh Essentials, or you can use the back of a chair and just wind it around that. So I think I'm actually going to use back of the chair because I've done this before, and for this sized ball it gets a little difficult for a book, so I'm just going to do it on the back of the chair. Enjoy the time lapse. This part is very tedious work. It's very repetitive, but it's a very important part in cleaning out the yarn because you want it kind of spread out and able for the detergent to get all throughout it, which, yes, is the next part. We're going, after we have this wrapped around the chair, we are going to wash it so it's not dirty anymore, because it still smells like thrift store at the moment. And then basically I found out that the chair was about, wrapping around was about a yard, so I started counting it, and I found that it was actually round about 170 something yards, which is actually a lot. Okay, so I finally finished winding this up. Now this chair is 24 inches across, which means wrapping it around should be roughly a yard. So you saw that I was counting all of these. I was counting how many yards that I got out of one sleeve, and it was about 177 yards, which is a huge amount. Just as an example, let's grab this. This is a $5 yarn at Hobby Lobby, and it is 180 yards. So already with one sleeve, we have our money's worth. And arguably, we might have more than our money's worth because that yarn is cotton with a little bit of linen. Now this has cotton, wool, and rabbit hair, which are higher priced fibers. So when you finish, when you first start, you want to take the beginning and kind of leave a little bit of leeway, like leave it hanging out a bit. And you just want to tie these, the first and the last piece together. Now, it doesn't really matter. You could just cut it off at the end. This is just so nothing is unraveling through the rest of the process. Next thing we want to do is with a different fiber that won't bleed or unravel, so white is always a good choice. We are going to wash this. So we want a yarn that won't bleed onto it and that will keep its shape and not be affected as much as the other fibers. Honestly, we're not agitating it, so you could use any. Cotton is best because animal fibers do tend to mat if they're agitated too much. So just in case, cotton is always a good idea. So 4 is probably a good number. You're just gonna loop it through in random spots and tie a loose little knot. This is just to make sure it doesn't get tangled and kind of keep it secure on itself. We're gonna do this in 4 different spots. We're gonna do 2 in the front, 2 around the back before I take it off the chair. Right, there's that, and then 2 around the back. Make sure you're getting all of it in there. And you don't want it too tight because right now it is pulled snug on the chair. So once you take it off, it is gonna relax a little bit and be a little poofy. And if these are too tight, then when you're washing it, which is the next step, the detergent might not get underneath those tightly tied little yarn pieces. All right, all of them are tied, so we can go ahead and take this off. Now look at this beauty. Lovely. Now I will take you to the next step, which is washing. Now because this does have wool and rabbit, I do not want to agitate it, so I'm not gonna put it to like wash or any kind of scrubbing. I'm just gonna submerge it in a soapy bath. You could use dish soap, honestly. I know a lot of people use that for a gentle soap. I think I'm probably gonna do that because the wool content isn't that high. I do have a wool wash that you don't have to rinse out. However, since wool is kind of a small ingredient in this, I think I'll just stick to dish soap. So let's go over there. All right, so I decided through consultation to use wool soap. So get a bowl of warm water. We're gonna put a dollop, because this is expensive stuff, as my mother keeps reiterating. That's more than enough. Give it a little stir to get the soap dispersed through the water. And then you take the yarn that you just have and you submerge it. Do not rub it together, because that'll agitate the fibers. Just kind of press it in there, submerge it, and Put a timer on, let it sit for 15 minutes. And you'll see at the end all the dirt that comes out of this. See you in 15. Okay, this is finished marinating for 15 minutes. So what you want to do is when you take it out, never wring it, because that's how you agitate fibers and get it all fluffy, and we want it smooth. So to get the water out, you just kind of have to squeeze it. You can squish it like this, just don't twist. So try to press out as much as you can. I'm dripping all over the place. And then the next step to press out even more, so we come over here. Look at, it didn't actually get that dirty, but you can definitely see there's dirt in there. We come over to a towel, drop it on there, and do not roll it up. You kind of just step on it. Push the water. Yeah? As much water as you can get out. Let's do another layer. It's just water. It's clean. Alright. That's good enough. And then we kind of just leave it overnight to dry all the way. Just hang it up on something. And we'll come back in the morning with a nice dry skein of yarn. Alright, so now the yarn is completely dry. What you could do at this point is find the little end that you tied together. Find the spot where you tied the beginning and the last wrap. Hi! And now if you wanted to use it right away, you would cut this and then either put it back onto a chair or just put something in the middle and kind of just slowly roll it into a ball. Just be careful, because when you're rolling into a ball from a skein, it's very, very easy to tangle it up. So always put something in the middle, whether it's a chair or like a pot or something that keeps the middle, because if it collapses in on itself, it's a nightmare to untangle. Now, I am not going to use this right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this up, which twists it onto itself, and then you kind of tuck one end through the other. And it's not as long as the skein that I showed you earlier, but it is a nice little twist, and it will take up less space this way than like a ball. So yeah, that's how you repurpose yarn from sweaters. Hope you enjoyed the video. And as you saw, one sleeve will get you the entire money's worth of the whole sweater. So basically one sleeve got your money worth, the rest of it is free. Happy knitting. I hope this hack helps you out, and happy thrifting.